So, welcome to SORMAG's Writers Cafe, where we share the real writer's life over a cup of friendship, sprinkled with laughter and wisdom. My name is LaShaunda Hoffman, and I'm your host for today. This episode is sponsored by the Finding Joy in the Journey 90-Day Devotional. And today, sitting at the cafe with me is Anita Kopacz, and I'm so excited to meet her.
Yay. I'm so excited too. Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing the video podcast with me. So can you tell I can't say listeners, we got viewers. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about you, your book, maybe read us an excerpt if you feel like it?
I would love to. I'm Anita Kopacz. I'm a Gemini. I am a mother of 3 children. I'm a spiritual psychologist. I'm the former editor-in-chief of Heart and Soul magazine. I love to dance. My kids get so embarrassed because if there is music on, I will dance. And it doesn't matter what genre, I will dance. And so I've been known to embarrass them a lot. And the book that I wrote is Shallow Waters, and it is about Yemeya, who is an Orisha, which is pretty much like a goddess, more of a spirit from the Yoruba pantheon of spirits. And she is the goddess of the ocean. She's said to be the mother of us all, the mother of fishes, abundance, and she's known for abundance, for fertility, and she is often depicted as a black mermaid. And I think what inspired me to write this book was a long time ago, one of my good friends told me that Yemeya was the spirit that watched over our ancestors as they traveled through the Middle Passage. They watched over the souls that jumped over or were thrown overboard and the ones that made it to the New World. And so when I heard that there was a black mermaid that was watching over us, it landed in my heart in a very special way. And I just felt like she was whispering to us that we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this so that today we could sit here and talk, right? I feel like she put into the spirit of the enslaved Africans that energy of we can make it through this. And I would love to read a part of the book, and I'm going to read the first page. It's funny because my sister, who actually read the audio version of the book, my sister Michelle, she was telling me that basically she was like, yeah, for books I always just skip through to chapter 1. I never read the prologue. And I was like, oh, I was like, definitely for this book, you want to read the prologue. So I don't know if there's other people who do that and skip to chapter 1, but this is the prologue. A long grunt escapes my lips. My body is numb. I cough up the last gulp of water I had taken in and held before I passed out. As I sluggishly blink my eyes, one thought repeats in my mind. I have to break through as soon as possible. I didn't need to breathe during my transformation, but now my need for air is urgent. My nerves awaken from the inside out. I can feel the change in my body. Everything is different. My eyes are dry. I blink a few more times in the darkness, working to clear away the crust that has formed over my lashes. Slowly, I become aware of the dim light penetrating the shell of my cocoon. The sun's rays reveal a complex webbing within the shell's walls, strong enough to withstand the ocean's waves. My body stirs, and I can feel the shrunken cocoon chafing against my skin. I pull away from the rough interior. Something's wrong. I'm lying on my back, and I can feel the pod is still, no longer bobbing along the ocean's surface. I have to get out now. I push with every molecule of my body, but it's no use. The shell is as hard as rock. I fumble in the darkness, trying to find the last section of the cocoon that I had sealed, in hopes that it might be a bit softer. My fingers meet at the top of the pod, and I use my thumbnail to puncture a small hole. A bright beam of sunlight streams in and momentarily blinds me. As I had suspected, there is no water. I begin to panic. Where am I? I need the ocean's pressure to help me break through the shell. I frantically chip away at the small hole in an attempt to push one of my newly developed legs out. The sensation of being able to move my lower limbs independently throws me off balance. They flail weakly as I try to maneuver them over my body to thrust them up and out. Although I've watched humans walk and dance and kick, I don't know how to use these new limbs on my own. I grip the backs of my smooth thighs with my hands and pull my knees towards my chest. It's so strange to feel skin and not scales, to have no control over what was once my powerful fin tail. I position my feet against the top of the cocoon and kick the damaged shell with all my strength. The debris shatters away from my body. Stunned by the bright sunlight again, I clamp my eyes shut and roll over. I strain to push myself up and wobble as I attempt to stand steady. For the first time in my life, I am vertical, held upright by 2 feet. I squint through tears, and I'm terrified to see that I'm surrounded by a pack of them, humans who I do not recognize. They don't look like the ones from my home, but I'm somewhat relieved to see that they don't look like a pirate's either. I'm completely exposed. My body trembles so violently, I'm afraid I will collapse.
Wow, I love that. It grabbed me from the first chapter. So I am a prologue person, and I love an epilogue too. I have to say this: I'm a Pisces, so I'm partial to the fishes.
Yes, I'm a Pisces moon, and my daughter, one of my daughters, is a Pisces. So I love Pisces.
So, man, I have so many different questions running around in my head, but how in the world did you get your sister to be able to read your book? Now, that was absolutely wonderful. Is she a narrator?
So, well, she is an actress,
Okay.
but I was, when they asked me to read my book, I was like, oh, you know, I really loved when my sister would read to me when I was younger. I mean, my mom was the person I really loved to read to me, but I knew that she would not want to do it. She would just be like, oh my gosh, Anita, like, I don't want to do that. And so I asked my sister, and she was like, yes, I would absolutely love to do it. So I asked them, and they were yes, they were a go. And so, I finally finished the audiobook. I just was able to, because I didn't get to hear it before it came out. Woo! So good.
Oh, great. That's how I'm gonna finish it. When you said, I saw in here that it said, I saw on the and I was on Amazon looking in it because I'm an audio girl. That's how I read books now. And so I saw that it said her name, Michelle, and I was like, oh, I wonder if she's some kin to her or something, you know. And so I was like, wow, that is so cool for her to be able to read your book. I just love that. Let me see. I'm trying to calm down. So
it's all good. It's all good.
I'm excited about because I watched this show called Sirens. And
I did too, girl.
I loved it. I loved that they had the African Americans in there as mermaids, so I thought that was really cool. So I went on this, is there any other mermaid stuff? You know, looking for African American mermaids, and I saw a lot of little kid books. I didn't see a lot of adult stuff. And I'm really upset because I never was introduced to Yameye. Is that how you say it?
Yemeya, and
Yeah.
Yemeya, there's many different versions. The original is Yemoja or Yemonja.
Okay, I saw
That
that.
is how they pronounce it in Nigeria.
Okay.
And there are different versions because as we moved throughout the diaspora, you know, there was Cuba, Puerto Rico, Brazil, Haiti, you know, us on mainland, whatever we, you know, United States. It's Yemeya was brought to all of those places, so there's different versions of her in all of those places.
And I was when I was Wikipedia. I'm on Wikipedia looking at this, and I'm like, I'm really upset because I'm like, why didn't we hear these stories? You know, we have amazing stories from Africa that I know they lost coming here, but we still aren't hearing them. And little girls would love to know that there was an actual black mermaid, you know. And I just that just irks me that, you know.
Yeah.
How do you feel
there's many reasons why, you know, they did not want us connected to our language. They didn't want us connected to our spirituality. Stories and African spirituality has been demonized. You know, being raised in the church and being in the church, you know, like we're taught that African spirituality is the devil, right? And so even if it's not as enforced as it was before, because they would have killed us before for trying to, but now we've been infused with the fear of it being evil, right? And so there's many reasons why we don't have those stories, but I'm so happy that we're opening up to our own histories and seeing how beautiful the stories are and how it feels like home. And it's just exciting to me that there's this remembering of who we are, which is the intention that I put in this book. My intention was that my intention was that Black women and Black girls remember who we really are. And what has been really interesting is that all backgrounds have been, the feedback has been like, oh my gosh, we're remembering who we are. And I was like, that's awesome, right? Like, it wasn't my intention, but it was just having that be one of the feedbacks that I'm getting. It just makes me really happy.
I love it. And how do you feel about seeing these more Black mermaid stories that are coming out now? Have you seen 3 or 4 that's coming out this year? And it's like, wow.
So excited. Like, because Yemeya told me, she said, the spirit, because I was definitely working with the spirit as I was writing the book. She said, my daughters are rising. And so seeing all of these Black mermaid stories coming out the same exact time, like, yo, my heart was like just opening up. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And, you know, and Disney is also doing The Little Mermaid as a Black mermaid. What that did for me, when I heard about that news, it really put a fire under my butt to get this done, because I was like, well, that is reminding me of when I would color the, have my coloring books, and I would color the white princesses and white mermaids black, right? Like, we have the original mermaid story. Why don't we tell those? Why don't we tell stories about them? Mami Wata, La Serene, Yemeya, they're all Black mermaids. So, yeah, I'm excited.
I love it. I met a young lady, and she was saying she wanted to write a mermaid story. And she's like, do you think that would be acceptable? And I said, go for it. Well, you know, go for it. I'm a little kid out there wants that book. You just got to put it out there. So that's great.
Absolutely.
When I was reading over, you know, looking through the book and reading through it, and I was talking about, you were going to talk about the Underground Railroad. Have you heard people say that the Underground Railroad does not exist. Have you heard that? I've heard it a couple times online.
Oh.
We had I saw an exhibit of the quilts one time, and somebody had posted it on Facebook, and so people were like, those quilts are lies. They're full lies. That none of that happened. There was never an Underground Railroad, and they kind of ate this lady up in the thing. But I was like, how many people really believe that there wasn't an Underground Railroad?
I've never heard of that. I mean, I know in the town where I live, which is Nyack, they have actual historical places where the Underground Railroad went through and houses that they went to. So yeah, I actually haven't heard that, of people saying it didn't exist. So do they say that Harriet Tubman didn't exist?
They say she exists, but I think that here's the thing: nobody wants to acknowledge our history. They want to sugarcoat it to fit their ways. Like it was free black people, and then there was enslaved black people. But we were happy when we were enslaved. That's that's the storyline that they're telling. And nobody never escaped. Why are you making up these stories? And I'm like,
wow.
But history is hard because it was only taught from one person's point of view.
Yes.
And as a writer and I call myself a historian trying to learn different things about our history, if you don't read, you would believe whatever somebody said to you. If you didn't get the research and find the things yourself like this, I'm like, well, how come I never heard of her? But I hadn't digged deeper to see if there were black mermaids. Because in my head, that was a white thing that white people made up. I never ever crossed my head that it was black mermaids, but I wanted them to be.
Right?
My imagination, there were a ton of them. But, to actually think that, oh my gosh, that, there's a history behind that. And now I'm thinking a lot of the stuff, our history was started with Africans. So somebody just changed the story around to fit them. So I
mean, isn't that the story? It's always the story. If you even think about math and science and how the Greeks would send, their people to Egypt for years and years and years to study, and then they would go and say they've created these philosophies and figured out math and science, and it's like, interesting.
Well, we always claim something that we claim the country that people were already living in, so come on.
Exactly.
So why do you think a reader should read your book?
So it's really what you just said. For me, it was the reclamation and the healing of my ancestral wounds. And my hope is that people feel that same healing when they do read it, no matter what side of history their people are from. And for me, what's really beautiful about this story is that the protagonist is a badass black woman during a time that was really difficult in American history. And we're seeing things that we're aware of, but from a completely different perspective, because it's from the perspective of a mermaid. So even when they're going over the Middle Passage, we're seeing it from the perspective of a mermaid in the water watching what was happening. And so we're able to take it in a different way. And for me, the writing process was really emotional, because I think it was probably the first time that I really took in how my ancestors might have felt going over those waters, or having their children sold away in slavery. Like, like really going in, allowing myself to go in emotionally. And so what's really, I feel like, divine timing for me is that it is like a history. It's a historical fiction, so there are a lot of historical characters within here. Mm-hmm. So I think that the divine timing is that, you know, we are in this time when people are not wanting to teach about history, and so this is another way for people to have access to our history if they're not teaching it in schools. So,
and like me, hopefully open their eyes and want to learn more about the different characters. Who was she? Go deeper, you know, dig a little bit more deep. That's how I do when I read historicals. I'm like, who is that? And I'm writing notes, and I want to go check that out. I wanted to go check that out. Let me go look and see who
yes.
That you're in the back. You had a contest for somebody to do the mermaid.
Yes. So we did have a contest. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Great. I'm like, look, who is this? This is somebody with some deep imagination. I was like, wow.
Really beautiful imagination. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning of the book, we do have like a timeline with all of the actual historical figures that are in the book.
I saw that.
Yeah.
One of my books that I'm working on is a historical, and it's about when the Native Americans were going the Trail of Tears. And so my story is about what happens if they didn't go on the Trail of Tears. And there was a group of Indians Native Americans, that didn't go, the Cherokee, Eastern Cherokee. And wow. I thought that in my head, and then when I started doing research, I was like, oh my goodness. It was a group that went into the mountains. And
wow.
It took a long time to get there, to claim that they were Cherokee because they didn't want to believe that was them. But they went into the mountains. So my story is about that. And so I was looking at that, and I was like, man, we were so close with the Native Americans, and they're being released, and us being and the problems we were going through, they were going through the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and when you think of years, you don't look at it as, if you put it on a timeline, it was a horrible time during that time frame. You know? So it's like, wow. So I appreciate that timeline. It really opened my eyes to see different stuff that I'm working on. I was like, yeah, that's deep.
Yeah.
But how long did it take you to write this book?
So it took me from like first thought to now, which is, you know, now it's published and done all the edits. It took 7 years.
I love that. That's the truth. That's what I want people be saying, oh, I wrote it in 3 months and I was done and it's published. That is not life.
That is not my story.
Right.
Not my story. I had 2 years where I had writer's block.
Oh my goodness.
I could not write anything, but I keep that. I add that into the 7 years, right? Mm-hmm. And because what I feel, someone gave me this advice about writer's block. They're like, if you begin to feel writer's block, just close your computer and don't open it until you are inspired again, right? Like, don't try to fight through it. And I was like, really? Right? I was like, what if I never finish this book? And I did. I just listened to them. And what I realized was that I had to grow as a person to know what was to come next in that story.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to. I remember a writer, Beverly Jenkins, she told me, we were talking on, and I said, I was thinking about being published. I said, it's never going to happen. And she said, it's going to happen for you. It's just not your season yet. She said, but at that time I was like 30-something, 32 maybe. And she said, you haven't even lived, girl. She said, talk to me in your 40s. And that's it. And when I was like, Beverly, that's so long away, you know. Like after my 40s, I was like, man, I'm just starting. Now I'm in my 50s. I'm like, I'm just starting to live. Understanding the cuckoo-ness of your 20s and 30s, you know. And so it's true. I think that as a writer, you have to, if you're going to really write, you know, they say you write what you know, and if you don't know nothing at 20, 25. You might know a little bit at 30, just a little bit, but
a little bit.
When you hit that 50, you go, man, I understand a little bit more.
I love it. I love it.
You're still learning. I tell my kid that all the time. He's like, when do I finish school? I said, you never finish school. Life is learning. You're always learning something. Some people are like, I just learned about a black mermaid. I'm super excited about it. Yay! So my question for you is, how do you think being a writer has helped you as a person?
Ooh, what a great question. No one has ever asked me that. I think it's helped me being a person because I have gone deeper and deeper into emotions, into characters, into what other people are thinking. I'm able to see different perspectives, and also patience. I feel has given me patience. Especially this process, because there were times where I did think I was never going to finish it, but then it's interesting because sometimes I felt mad, like crazy, because I'm like, what am I doing? I'm so passionate about something that I don't even know if it's going to be done. I don't know if it's going to be out. I don't know if it's going to get published, but there was still this passion that was driving me all the time. And so it has given me faith to follow my passion.
I love that. I love that. And then I love your story because I read it in the, I think that's the foreword. The person said that you were going to self-publish your book, and she gave it to Charlemagne. Is that his name? And I'm like, now, if that ain't, look, that was the Holy Spirit's like,
that's God. That is God right
there. You don't get no slide-ins and nothing in this world. I was like, oh my, I think I wanted to shout for you because I'm like, wow, who, I don't think I've ever heard it. I've been doing this 20 years. I've never heard anybody, no.
Yeah.
And that they love the book, they want to publish it, that's fantastic.
Yes, it was. It did. It just felt like God. It was like it's time. Poor girl been writing for 7 years.
But I truly believe now that I'm published, but back then I was freaking out about it. But I know now that there is a season for everything, and like you were saying that Disney is making that the Black Mermaid. When that comes out, that's going to be a hot topic, and your book will be there for those people who are like, really, and
all right, thank you.
Because people want that. When Black Panther came out, people were like, is there stories, just more stories like that? Well, of course there wasn't, but people were looking for that because they want that, and we want to see us. And that's why I write, because that's my goal, is to leave that legacy behind. I was telling somebody, I grew up Little House on the Prairie, and then when I became a teenager, my girl was Jackie Collins. I love me some Jackie Collins. I thought I was going to be the Black Jackie Collins. That was my goal to be, and so they didn't really have that many books that looked like me. So that's the books that I aspire to write. And probably in my late 20s, they came out with the African American romance books, and then Terry McMillan came out with her book, and it just blew up. And we've been, and it irks me sometimes when people say we need more diverse books. I say, no, you need to read more diverse books, because the books are there. We're there. We've been there 20 plus years. You haven't recognized or acknowledged that we've been there.
That it's there. And my favorite author is Octavia Butler.
Oh wow,
and just the fact of being able to see and to read about Black people in science fiction stories was huge for me when I was younger. And so, Octavia Butler.
I came to her late in life and was very upset because I would have loved to sit down and talk to her.
I know.
I have two people that I follow, Stephen Bourne and I'm not even gonna try to say his wife's name because I'm gonna mess it up and then I said it online. But Stephen Barnes and his wife were good friends with her, and they had like a webinar once where they had her words. They had did a interview with her, and it was so wonderful. And I was so upset. I was like, man, I wish I could have talked to her. She just had a brilliant brain. Did you read Kindred? That was what I read. I haven't read her science fiction books yet, but the Kindred just blew me completely away.
Kindred. My favorite, well, my two favorites are Kindred and Wild Seed.
Oh, okay.
And I think Kindred is considered science fiction.
Mm-hmm. It went back in time, so yeah.
It is. It's like her science fiction, which is so funny because my dad. So my book was nominated as one of the. What was it called? It was basically to be featured in the Edelweiss Book Fair as one of their top science fiction picks. Okay. And my dad was like, science fiction? I was like, yeah, Dad, it's science fiction. I was like, it's about a black mermaid. And he was like, oh, yeah. Because it feels real. Like, it feels like history. And that's how Octavia Butler feels to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was so happy when my dad said that, right? I was like, oh yeah, okay, good. I did my job.
Well, I was supposed to have a 30-minute conversation with you, but if you have time, we can go on. If not, I understand, and we will close out our interview. But I'm enjoying the conversation.
I'm here. I'm here for you.
Good, because I'm like, I'm enjoying this, and we got to end. I love when people are passionate about the writing and they're so excited about the books. It's so many writers are having such a hard time right now, so they're kind of sad when it comes to their books, but I just love your excitement about it and the storyline, and it's just amazing, and that inspires me, so I love that.
Yay.
What's my next question? What are 3 things you wish you knew before you reach where you are now?
All right. Okay. This is good. This is good because I'm still learning and there's still things that I wish that I know. Okay. I wish that I knew that everything was going to be all right with the book. Yes. I wish that I knew that. Mm-hmm. That it was going to be published, that it was going to be supported in such a beautiful way. I wish that I knew. So what's really interesting for me, and I've worked on this in so many different ways because I've been the editor-in-chief of magazines. I've been within the literary world for a while, but I am dyslexic. And so it has been a journey. My mind works really well with math and science. I did civil engineering in college, and my mind works like that. And so sometimes I'm like, God, why? Like it feels very humbling that I've been called to a place that I would say is my least, like where I have my least strength.
I'm like, how did you get into magazines and stuff, the literary world?
Yes, well, because I'm also OCD, so some OCD, but so I've worked really hard, and my parents worked really hard so that I would basically, none of my teachers knew that I was dyslexic because my mom would study with me for hours and hours and hours. So just to do a simple paper, everyone always thought, oh, she's a straight A student. They didn't know how long it took me, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think for me, because I'm still a storyteller, right? Like the story is in me, and I was like, I really want to do this. And so I wish that I knew, what is the word? I wish I knew that I could do it.
But you did do it.
I did do it. I'm trying to think of the things that I wish I knew, you know.
Yeah, I guess, and it's interesting. Most of the writers that I talk to, they always wonder about, can they do it? You know, I have a friend that she just released her 3rd book this week, and so she said, I'm a nervous wreck. I'm scared about it. I'm just so nervous about it. And I told her, so I sent her a message, and I said, well, I've interviewed hundreds of authors, and they're always scared every book. Yeah. And I said, and that scared me, and so I wouldn't release any books. So I said, but you pushed past that fear, and you're releasing your book. And so I said, so you're on the right path. You're okay. I said, just let it go. And she's like, what? Are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I'm serious. Everybody's always scared every time they put a book out. Even people who have 20 and 30. I've heard Stephen King say that, and he's got tons of books.
Wow, Stephen King.
Yeah, so he's nervous every time he puts a book out. So I'm like, well, I guess that's just part of the writing journey. You're going to be freaking out until you get that one reader that says, I loved it. And then you're like, oh, okay.
I know. It's so funny. I was actually just talking about Stephen King to my son, and he was saying that he was like, yeah, you know, The Shining was somewhat of a true story for Stephen King. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, Ryan, like, I don't know. I don't think that that's a true story. He was like, well, it's a true story, you know, in the fact that he has, like, the shining, like, the power. And, you know, obviously we're not taking this for like, fact. This is my 12-year-old son. And I was like, really? And so, like, we're looking up Stephen King, looking at how many books he's written, and he was like, look, he has written, it was like 80-something novels, something ridiculous. He was like, no one who doesn't have powers, he's like, who doesn't have powers, they would not be able to write 89 novels. He's like, you can barely write one. I was like,
thank you, son.
Yeah.
Kids can put you in your place, can't they?
I was like, whoa. Need to get my shit together here.
I met someone, and I think she wrote 75 books. And I'm like, man, I'm still trying to get this one book done. I don't know. But I learned to stay out of people's lanes, because you would drive yourself crazy. And I love that you shared that it was 7 years, because I've been working on this book. My goal was I wrote a book in 2015. It's a book about book promotion, and I was going to release my next book the next year, but that didn't work. It is now 2021, so you know. But it happens. I haven't given up on it.
Divine timing.
Yeah, and I
that
know
was the other thing, right? Divine timing. That's one other thing I wish I knew, and that's still a lesson for me. It's divine.
You learn it over and over again, and then I go, you just up there laughing at us, aren't you? And you drive yourself crazy, worry, sick, and it goes so smooth, and you be like, seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe that. So what has surprised you most about being a published author?
What has surprised me most? How natural it feels. Like, it feels like the next natural step. Like, I put so much on it, like, was so hard on myself to try to get it, and I feel like it just, now being on the road, it just feels natural.
That's good. That's good. That means you're in the right spot. That's in the right spot. So what would you say to a writer who wants to give up?
Close your computer, close your journal, take a deep breath, and fully dive into your life and see what it is. For me, because, you know, even with those 2 years of writer's block, definitely feeling like I wanted to give up, I needed to be in my life and learn something and fully be present in my life. And I imagine every writer I've spoken to has gone through that. So just knowing that you're not alone in thinking that, because it's such a natural thing to think, because writing is especially writing a novel is a lone journey, right? We're lone wolves sitting with the computer, sitting with the story, sitting with the characters. They're coming in the room telling us what they do next, you know, like we're in this place, and there's not someone sitting there with you telling you to go on, or, you know, like it really is up to us. If the story is going to come out, it comes out through us. And I feel like we all come with our own blueprint. And if you don't do the story, it'll never be told. It'll never be told. And so I think that my advice would be, if you can't write the story for yourself, write it for the people who are going to read it.
I love that, because I tell people all the time, somebody's waiting on your book.
That's it. You gave me chills.
Somebody told me that, LaShaunda, you need to finish the book because somebody is waiting on that book. And I was like, wow, that's so deep. But somebody's waiting on. We've been waiting on a Mermaid book for a long time, and now it's here. So yeah, that's true.
Now it's here. Now it's here.
So my next question is, what are you doing now to interact with readers? I know with COVID, everything has changed a little bit so are you doing any live events, or are you just doing virtual stuff?
So most of it is virtual, and I was able to do a couple live events in Martha's Vineyard, which are pretty much my only live events. I have the Boston Book Fair in October, I believe it is, and that right now that's still live, but who knows what that's going to turn into. But everything else has been virtual, and so it's been interesting. I loved doing the live events, because it was really interesting, because some people had read it and some people hadn't, and some people halfway through and they're like, don't give us any spoilers, right? Like, don't say anything. And so it was just so fun. I love the live events, and I am grateful for the virtual ones as well, because then I can do things that I, you know, perhaps wouldn't have been able to do if I was doing just a live tour. So that has its beauty too, but I do like to be with people.
Yeah, hopefully it'll open back up. I am a virtual girl. I do a lot of things virtual, but I have really missed events. I miss going to the events. I miss going to book signings and listening to the authors, you know. So yeah. I'm hoping that it'll get a lot better next year. I don't know about this year. It's looking kind of wild.
Yeah.
So how do you relax? What do you do to relax?
So I love to dance. That is one thing I do.
You like to dance?
Yes.
Do you go out and dance, or you like me dancing in your kitchen?
Not anymore. Dancing in the kitchen. We'll do dancing in the living room. Don't go out to dance, no. And what do I do to relax? Take a nap. Meditate. I like to relax after yoga. Yoga is not necessarily relaxing for me. It's definitely a workout, but after yoga, I do feel very relaxed. And take a bath. Baths are, I love baths. Yeah.
Yeah, I love a good bath too, and I love to put my little I listen to audio, so I put my little book on, and I'll lay in the back and banging on the door. Are you coming out of there? Yeah.
You know, you just gave me an idea. Seriously, because I was thinking about putting together like for a just like a holiday gift thing, and just like having bath salts with the book and a bookmark and
bubble something and get them if you're gonna get them some hot cocoa.
I love it.
Get you some cups made with your book on there.
Oh,
yeah. I'm a promotion girl, remember?
Yeah, I was like,
Put your book, put your thing on, put on the mug or a cup or something.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
The Cocoa Mermaid.
And then you just tell them, this is my thing, but I say take a break with your mermaid.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
So what aspects of writing do you love or you dislike?
I love storytelling.
Okay.
So I love the story. Like, to me, it feels like it rolls through me. I don't really ever know what's going to come next. I don't have outlines and things like that, which is very interesting, I know, for some writers. And so it just kind of rolls through me, and which might be a reason why it also takes me a while, because when I want to change something, you know, I go back and I change a lot, right? Like, because I'll be like, oh, no, let's go another way. It's like, if you look at like it could be like a choose your own adventure, right? You can.
Well, I actually write like that, so I understand. I'm learning to outline, but as long as I don't I don't like to know what the end of my story is. Once I know that, then I'm done. It's finished for me. And people are like, what? I need them to tell me, and I need to go to the left, or I need to go to the right. I don't want to know what the story is, and that's probably why I have a hard time finishing too.
I'm so glad you feel me. You understand.
Yeah, we are what they call pantsers. We write by the seat of our pants. And then there's plotters who plot. They plot all their stuff out. So I'm half and half now. Back in the day when I first started writing, I went on an adventure. They wake me up at night. Hey, come on in here and write this stuff down.
Yes. Yes.
So now I have to, if I'm going to finish the story, I got to do an outline.
A little plotting, just a little plotting.
But I don't like to know the story ending. I don't like that. And like some people say they'll get the book. Like your sister said, she doesn't read the prologue. Some people read the last chapter. I have never done that. Ever in all my 54 years of reading. No. I don't know the end.
To me, the ending is the gold. Mm-hmm. I love the ending of stories. And even with movies, like I can love a movie and then the ending suck, and I'm like, oh.
We went to see when they did the Star Wars movie and Anakin turned into Darth Vader. So we're leaving out the thing, and my husband says, well, you know he was Darth Vader, right? I said, yeah, but I'm ready. And I still get emotional about that because he went totally, he turned all different ways, and I knew he was going to the dark side. I just wasn't ready for him to go to the dark side.
Yeah, because they did such a good job.
They did. They convinced me he was so wonderful, and I was like, Anakin, and my husband kept saying, you were really upset. I was upset for about a month.
Yeah.
To calm down over that one. He's like, but you knew he was turning into Darth Vader. I said, I know that. But I just couldn't see him getting that dark. He went really dark.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So, yeah, you guys better have I guess that comes from me like a romance novel. I need a happy ending. Do not tell me, you killed the lady off and he went on somewhere else. that's not a happy ending for me. So I need happy endings in all my movies. Even I'm mad I'm really mad if I leave out the theater and I'm not happy. So, yeah, I need happy endings. And if it's not happy ending, then I'll wait till it come on to TV.
You're hilarious.
I'm not paying for you to make me mad. So my last question for you is, what about writing do you wish non-writers would understand?
That's it. You have good questions.
Thank you.
I wish that they could understand the process, that there is such a process. It's not just, well, for some people, I guess they can just write off and they're done and they can finish it in 3 months. But I wish people could understand the process and really fully take it in.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that don't write have a hard time, because I get all the time, you still working on that little book? Ring some necks. I had a cousin that once said that to me. When did your book release? I'm like, 5 years ago. He goes, oh. So, you know, some people get it, some people don't. Are they like, you just got a new book, so the next question is, when is the next book coming out? You're like, can I enjoy this book? Can I enjoy this moment first? You know, what's new? Can we get a sneak peek of the other book? What is it going to be about? You know, they drive you crazy. You're like, oh my God. You know? But then I would say, write the next book, because the readers will be on you for that next book. You know, so what's the book?
I know. I am working on it. I've taken a little break because I wanted to enjoy this time, but I have started, and it is basically, I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but it is not a continuation of this book, but we do meet other Orishas, we'll say.
Okay, good. I wonder where you're going to stay in that niche. So yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, it's hard to be in the moment, but I will tell you that from my own experience, enjoy this moment. Enjoy every piece of it. Document everything, because you're going to go back and look at your little memory book and go, oh my God, it was on this, it was doing this, I did this, I did that, and it's going to go so fast, and then you're like, and then it's the next year, and you're like, oh my God, I'm a published author here. So enjoy it, enjoy every of it, because that's what we forget to do. I have to tell my clients that all the time. Don't try to rush it. Take your time. Go each step, you know, and I'm thankful that I did that, because I can go back and look at, you know, everything, and I documented everything on Facebook, so when it's my anniversary, it brings it all back, and I'm crying. I'm like, I made what I've been dreaming about since I was 8 years old.
Yes.
So it's you know, just enjoy the moment. That's my best advice I can give to you.
Thank you. And I have to say, just to bring in the divinity of what you just said, today when I was driving, I actually was thinking that. I was like, you know what? I think I want to get a scrapbook and actually, you know, get all of the magazine articles and print out the articles that are online, so that I have it all in one place, that, you know, either I pass down to my children, or so I'm going to take what you just said as yes, like that was confirmation. I should do that.
You should do it, believe me, because it's so amazing. And, you know, especially like you said, you've been writing for 7 years, and the fruit has finally been bared, you know, and so I want you not to miss a moment of it, because it's just so amazing. And when you get that, have you gotten your first fan letter yet?
I have been getting them, yes.
Yeah,
and it was really interesting, because in the live events there were people who were like nervous to meet me, and like fans, and it was so funny. I was like, listen, I'm so like cool, like, you know?
It's like, oh my God, you're like a celebrity or something.
Like, no.
It's amazing. I'm glad you're getting to experience that because it's so amazing. And, you know, with this COVID, it's kind of messing up all kinds of good things, you know, so I'm glad that you got to experience that.
Yes.
So, can you please tell our listeners how they can get in contact with you online?
Yes. If you can follow me on Instagram, that's where I do most of my posting. Okay. It is Anita Kopacz, so Kopacz, C as in cat, Z as in zebra. And that's Anita Kopacz on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter. They're all the same.
Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will hope that Miss Anita gave you some good information today that was helpful for you. I want to thank our sponsor, Finding Joy in the Journey is a 90-day devotional. Check the show notes for the link to to order you a copy. Can't read today. I want to thank you, our listeners, for taking time to listen to this podcast and hopefully view this podcast. I keep forgetting I'm on video, y'all. I'm on video. I have 3 questions for you. Did the book excerpt intrigue you to check out the show notes for the links to download? Did you enjoy this episode? Please share it to your community. And if you have a topic or would like to be a guest on this show, contact me at onesormag@gmail.com. And I have one last question for you. Have you promoted your book or business today? If you haven't, go showcase those wings. Someone needs what you have to offer. This is LaShaunda Hoffman, and I will see you on the next.